Okay, hi everybody. This is Tamara from Moogly. I want to thank you so much for joining me today live. Oops. Let me turn down the volume on my phone. Okay, now we're going. Nothing like a little technical fun first thing in the morning. So, hi, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm so glad you're able to join me here very much live. It is September 24th, around 11 a.m. Central Time. And boy, am I tired. I just got back from Scotland on Monday afternoon, late afternoon. And of course, jet lag has been a real thing. I wake up about every morning at 4 a.m. Not the usual 4 a.m. wake up, more like now I've slept too much, but of course I haven't slept enough. So I'm figuring it out, getting back on track, and diving right back in. We've got so many fun things, some things that we did while I was gone, some new fun things to show with you guys. And of course, I brought back lots of treats from Scotland. So let's get right into it. I am happy to be home. As much fun as Scotland was, I'm happy to be home. So today I'm wearing the work from home cardigan, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. And while I was gone, or rather since the last live that we did, we've had two crochet along squares come out. So that's very exciting. Usually I get to just show off one. This week I get to show off two of them. Up first, we have square number 18, and this one is by Blankets with Heart, Lindsay Stevens. And it is another beautiful pattern. This one's pretty simple, but then it's got these really great surface crochet lines that you can do in chains, and that adds a lot of dimension to this piece. So this is a wonderful square for experienced and beginner crocheters alike. You can see here's what the back looks like. I missed trimming off one of my ends. Whoops. No big deal. I'll do that later. But you can see it's a really nice solid square here from the back. You're not going to lose any toes through this one. And again, just a really nice, pleasing square. Lots of opportunity for color play here and some gorgeous ones. Really mesmerizing. Sometimes people use their colors in ways that really, really make the square pop. So it's always really exciting to see how people have done that. And that one was no exception. Now, that was 18. We've also had, since the last time I've been live, number 19. And this one is by Nikki's Homemade Crafts. So Nicole Riley designed this one. And this is another beautiful square. This one's obviously a little more complex. This one is mosaic crochet. Specifically, it's overlay mosaic crochet. You can see this is what the back of this one looks like. I did choose to carry my yarn colors along the back here. If you decided not to do that, it would look cleaner all the way around, but you guys know I'm not a big fan of weaving in ends if I don't have to, so I carried mine. So this is the overlay mosaic crochet square. Again, beautiful square, lots and lots of color play opportunities here and some really beautiful, beautiful renditions in the group. So thank you to both Lindsay and Nicole for those wonderful designs. Whew, lost my breath a little on that. So to make those, I used Red Heart with Love. I'm cleaning out my Red Heart with Love stash this year. I'm not sure what yarn yet we're going to use for next year, but I am definitely planning on 2026. If you're a designer, don't panic. I haven't sent out the emails yet. I'm still working on it, but we'll definitely be using another worsted weight Aran yarn. So if you want to jump in now, it's always a great time to join the crochet along. Now, in terms of free patterns that have come out on Moogly, we have a couple, one of which is the Birch Bark Candle Cozy, which I don't actually have anymore. This was a pattern that I designed a while back for a collection of paid patterns that I've now put up free on the blog, so that's exciting. You'll have to go look at that one. Now, you can, of course, put it on real candles. I prefer to put it on electric candles just for safety. I know myself. If you put it on a real candle, of course, use appropriate fire safety. Don't want to be liable for any dangerous things. The other free pattern that we brought on Moogly since the last live is the Windy City Cowl, and that is this piece right here. And this was made using Karen Simply Me, which is a really lovely new yarn from Yarn Inspirations, or not really new anymore, but newer, one of their newer ones, not one of the classic ones. And this is just a really simple two-color cowl. You can see right here. You could use, of course, more colors if you'd like. And I made this one relatively close fitting. I'll put it right on here so you can see. So not super tight by any means, but not really loose either. And I love this style because let me tell you, having just come from very, very windy Scotland, I'm surprised, let's just put it this way, I'm surprised the cowl hasn't caught on more over there. Everybody's got their long scarves, which I get, but with that wind, my gosh. Something like this, certainly you would think that you need to start making some tartan cowls or something over there. So this is the Windy City Cowl, inspired by Chicago, but also handy in many other windy places in the world as winter comes. Now, again, I use Karen Simply Me for this one. From what I understand, there's a whole bunch of new Karen Simply Me other varieties out right now. I used the most basic one, the first one. Like I say, there's some new varieties out there. I haven't had a chance to try them yet, but I hear they're really nice. So you'll have to check those out and tell me what you think. All right. So, hi, welcome, Dr. Janice and Chris and Yvonne, of course, and BJ. Thank you all so much for joining me here live. Scotland, let's talk about it, right? That was pretty incredible. I was not officially in Scotland for 10 days. It was more like 8 days with travel. Took me an extra day to get home, of course, because I live in Iowa. So an extra day of just 2 flights to get from New York to Iowa. That's the joy of living in the Midwest. But Scotland itself was absolutely gorgeous. The scenery was amazing. It was lovely to be somewhere where it wasn't 95 degrees all week. It was definitely more in the 60s, which was really nice. The people were fantastic, and we got to do a lot of yarn shopping. We actually went to 3 different yarn stores. I'm going to show you some of my finds here in just a little bit. While we were there, we did a couple of crochet workshops, and I designed a new original pattern for that, which I will be putting out for free on the blog later this week. Not sure which day. It's either Thursday or Friday. I'm going to have to go back and look. I think it's Friday. So that will be coming up as well. But overall, Scotland was just absolutely gorgeous. The people were friendly. We pretty much stuck to Edinburgh. We did do 1 day in Glasgow, but that was really quick. Glasgow was very nice. But we spent a lot of time in Edinburgh and had to really practice not to call it Edinburgh. That was like such a hard thing because then every time I went to spell it on something, of course, I had to say Edinburgh in my head, right, to spell it out. So I really had to practice to say Edinburgh while I was there. But I think one of the interesting things that I learned about the name, and that's what helped me remember, is that, interestingly, it was originally Edinburgh. It was a burg, like an area, a city in Scotland, but named Eden. So eventually that mushed together and now Edinburgh. So I thought that was really interesting as well. But yes, overall, it was a fantastic trip. Craft Tours always does a great job putting together really fun things for us to do. Definitely one of the highlights was a visit to the tartan weaving mill. That was incredible. We got to see the very machines and the ladies who go by thread by thread by thread through this fabric. And they do things for, gosh, they did an outfit for Taylor Swift. They did the kilt for King Charles, Burberry, anything, basically anything tartan and official, I feel, comes from like that Lachlan tartan weaving mill. And it was really an amazing experience to see behind the scenes, to see, again, I'm always amazed at what we think of big companies, how small they are. Relatively speaking, I definitely see the value and why kilts and those official tartans are so incredibly expensive. One of the things I unfortunately wasn't able to take photos or videos of because there's a lot of I want to say like copyright or trademark or bespoke, unbefore seen plaids in this room and tartans, so we couldn't take pictures in there. But one of the most amazing jobs, I think, and the most intense was there are ladies, and they were all ladies when we were there, but they will sit with like a lighted table. And like I say, they literally go through these fabrics thread by thread by thread. If there's a knot, they sit there with their tiny, tiny little needles and undo the knot. If there's a broken thread, they will repair it invisibly. It was so wildly impressive, and I was just really blown away by the fabrics they were able to make. In fact, at one point, our tour guide within the tartan weaving mill itself, she was wearing a really beautiful scarf, and it was tartan, and it was so like light and airy that I thought for sure it had to be like a polyester rayon, right? It had that sort of diaphanous, sort of semi-transparent, you can see the light through it look. So I asked her, I said, that's a beautiful scarf. Can you tell me about the scarf you're wearing? It was merino wool. She let me feel it, and I was blown away. I've never seen such tiny merino wool work up like that. Like I say, it was very nearly see-through. It was so light and airy. So that was really intense and very educational. And while I definitely, let's just say a kilt won't be in my budget anytime soon, I definitely do see why they are valued the way they are. It was definitely an impressive visit. And if you get the chance, I definitely do recommend it. All right, so I'll get to show you some of my purchases here in a little bit, but now I'm going to get back to the list of links that I have up on Moogly right now. Oh, one thing I definitely want to point out and make sure I emphasize, because this is the last live I'll do before it's over. We have the Warm Up America hat, scarf, and mitten drive. So I've got my pile of patterns here. This is the last time you're going to see them because they're going to have to go in a box real soon so I can ship them off myself. So if you make hats, I went through my stash. I started using some scrap yarn for some. I found ones that Moogly patterns that have been out for a little while, so I feel like I can finally send the hats off that happen to be made in worsted weight acrylic yarn. I'm going to include all of those as well as the mittens and scarf and hat that I designed this year. And I'm working on a couple more that I'm hoping to get finished in time as well. For mine this year, I used Knit Picks Brava Stripe, but of course the older ones, I've used whatever I've used. And this is just a great initiative. Hats, scarves, and mittens to those who need them this winter. Look, how can you go wrong, right? Warm Up America is a great organization. Very organized. They're on top of it. So I'm working with them on this initiative. We've got through the end of the month. Gather up your hats, scarves, mittens that you've made, throw them in a box. Maybe you made them, decide it wasn't for you, you didn't like the color. Put them to work. Let's put them in a box, send them off to Warm Up America. I've got all the information for it up on my blog, including the form that you can send in along with your donations to make sure they get counted. Because then we get, the fun thing is, well, of course, with or without the page, with or without saying it's for the Moogly drive, I want you to send in your stuff. The most important thing is to give these things to charity. But if you can include that special paper, then we get a really fun count at the end to say how well we did. So, it's always just extra fun for sure. Let's see. Oh, so we have a question. Where are the squares patterns available? I'm going to presume, where did I put them down? You're talking about these guys. This is the Moogly Crochet Along. Everything I'm talking about today is linked in today's blog post on Moogly. As you can see, I actually print out that list of links for me to follow along with as well. So today's blog post on Moogly has the links to the last 2 squares, and within each of those, all the past ones for that year are linked. So it really is pretty easy to get started. You just have to go to the link on Moogly. So thank you for asking about that. Okay, and then the links, same thing for the hats, scarves, mittens for charity. Go to today's post. I'll link you to that specific post. Everything I'm talking about today, I put up a big post on Moogly. When this video is over, this video will be embedded along with those links so you can watch and later, and it'll all be right there. I try to make it as easy as possible. So anyway, once again, hats, scarves, mittens, all off to Warm Up America here by the end of the month. So time to finish up those projects. All right, what else? We've got, I need to look at my list here for just a second. Whew, all right, thank you so much, you guys. I'm so excited you're excited about that, the charity drive as well. It's such a good one every fall. Okay, so other things that have happened on Moogly. I did a post about learning mosaic crochet, Juniper and Oaks. I did a mosaic summit with her a couple months ago here. She's got a bunch of really cool stuff on mosaic crochet, so I wanted to share that in case you wanted to dive in deeper. So that's up now. And then, of course, we've got our giveaways. Now, the Katya Forever Flowers Crochet Along giveaway is over, but they have given me one last discount code. It's only good through October 2nd. This is the guy I'm talking about. I had to reach over and grab this big old box here. This is, I believe it's 28 skeins of Katya Basic Merino, and it's going to make, it's kind of hard to see on here. There's better pictures on the blog. But yes, this beautiful, beautiful floral blanket. And I'm going to be making this too. We'll be starting next month, so we're getting ready right now. If you can go ahead, order your kits right now. Like I say, through October 2nd, there's a discount for you on mooglyblog.com. So again, that's linked in today's post. If you want to join in that, I would love to have you join with me. I think it's going to be a really fun and exciting pattern to make. We also, of course, have a book giveaway going. I try to always have one of those going. Now, I will say the Pokemon Crochet Squares book giveaway has ended. That has to have probably been one of the most popular book giveaways ever on Moogly. Maybe not in terms of entry, just people who were excited about the book. I think a lot of people ordered it, so congrats to Ira Rott for writing that one. And I haven't heard back from the winner yet, but she has an email, so hopefully she'll check her email and get back to me soon. Now, the giveaway we have going is for Tunisian Crochet, a Stitch Dictionary with 501 Stitches to Explore by Lori Harrison. And this one, as you can see, is a nice, big, thick stitch dictionary. And I love a good stitch dictionary, right? even before I was a designer, you could just page through and find so much inspiration. A scarf, a blanket doesn't require a whole lot of work past what's in the Stitch Dictionary. And of course, if you are more advanced, you can have a lot of fun with the different patterns in here. It starts off pretty basic, but one of the things I love is that she also covers things like increases and decreases, which I just very luckily happen to have opened up to right here. That's something you often don't see in a Stitch Dictionary, so that is really lovely. I feel like this one does cover, maybe because it's Tunisian, it does cover quite a bit of it. The other thing I love is it's got the charts. And I say this as someone who is not super familiar with reading Tunisian crochet charts. I'm used to reading from the instructions. But I actually really love the way they've set this up because it's going to make you learn how to read the charts, essentially. It's going to encourage you. The motivation is there for sure, and they make it really easy to understand. And I feel like once I really get into this book and start using it to do some designing with, those Tunisian crochet charts are just going to make a whole lot more sense. And that's how I learned how to read, standard, if you will, crochet charts originally. I got a Stitch Dictionary. It happened to have the charts there for each stitch. And I said, okay, let's look a little closer and figure these out. Lo and behold, one of the best things I ever did. You can see some more of the entries here. Really just gorgeous things. I think a lot of us tend to think of Tunisian crochet as having sort of, pearls and knits and, the simple stitch and maybe a couple of others, but there are full on 501. They've even got some color work in here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So many beautiful things that you can do with Tunisian crochet. And I really feel like Tunisian crochet is just growing and growing in popularity right now, which is fantastic. So this book is really right in time. Here we go. There's some beautiful cables as well. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? If you're someone who loves cables, don't necessarily want to knit, but you want to try some crochet cables, these are such a really neat marriage between knit cables and crochet cables. It's really, again, they're just a whole lot of fun to make, and I really think that you'll enjoy this book. There's also even some lace stitches here. There we go. So lots and lots of really, look at that, eyelet left with skip stitch, all kinds of things. Really such a fantastic resource. If you're into Tunisian crochet, you want to get a Tunisian crochet, cannot recommend this one enough. So we've got this giveaway happening on Moogly right now. All right, let's see. Okay, what else we have? I have to go back to my list. Oh, of course, we've got to have a crochet hook giveaway going as well. All my favorite things. And right now, it is for a full set. I only have 3 that I can hold up. We're giving away the full set of the matte purple Streamlines by Furls. These guys right here. I have my 3 favorite sizes. IJK. I like a big hook. No lie. And but these are gorgeous, as you can see. Absolutely stunning. And like I say, somebody is going to win the entire set on Moogly. So someone very lucky to be sure. So make sure you've entered that. Let's see what else. I have one more thing to show off before I get into showing off the stuff from Scotland. I did manage right before leaving, like literally the night before I got on the plane, to finish up this month's Jimmy Beans wool kit that I'm working on. Now, I've been working on the Jimmy Beans wool blanket kit club for 2025, the crochet version, specifically the trailhead colorway in the acrylic. Because I know my life, I know my kids, and I know what's going to work for us. And this was a really fun month. This month, we took one of those long white rectangles that we did, strips, I should say, longer than a rectangle, more of a strip, one of the long white strips that we did the previous month. And for kit number 9, we added all of this mosaic crochet striping right there. And then we made a whole new corner square. And the corner squares, I think, from what I've seen so far, are all going to have this sort of wiggle crochet look. And this was really interesting because I've done wiggle crochet patterns before. As you may or may not know, I have several trivets. I think they're fantastic for trivets, right? Of course, those were in cotton yarn. But I've done several different shapes and patterns of these. And this is really different. The way I always did it was as post stitches. But she's doing these as front loop stitches. And you can see it gives a really similar look. And then you've got this really flat background right here. So one of the reasons I love doing these crochet alongs by other designers is I learn so much as a designer. And of course, it's just fun to sit back and follow someone else's instructions once in a while. But these were the big result from kit number 9 for the 2005 Jimmy Bean's Wool Blanket Kit Club. Long name, but beautiful pattern, and I'm really excited. I've got my pieces so far all in here, and I will now have to wait until next month to start the next one. But next month, we're going to have lots of fun things going on. So I'll be working on the Jimmy Bean's Wool one. Of course, we'll have new Moogly crochet along squares. I'm very excited about our next couple designers. And of course, the Katya crochet along. We'll be doing all of that in October. So lots of fun stuff there. And I might throw in a couple more free patterns as well. We'll see what happens. Now, let's get to it. What did I bring back from Scotland? Well, first, let me show you the pattern I designed for our trip to Scotland. We had 2 workshops that we did together. It happened to be Tuesday and Wednesday. And on our first day, really, really wonderful, we had a visit from Derek from Katya Yarns. Now, may have heard me mention Katya Yarns for that Forever Flowers crochet along, right? That's the yarn company behind the crochet along I'm doing next month. And they were also kind enough to come out to our class. Now, Derek is the U.S. rep, but he happens to live in Scotland, so it all worked out very well. And in addition to a lovely tote bag and some other gifts, they brought one of these skeins of yarn for each of our participants. Mine's had a little pulled out because, of course, I pulled some out as I was teaching, but this is Concept Illusion Merino by Katya. And this is a really limited edition yarn. They're only going to be coming out with it next month, I believe, in the States for a limited time. It's out in limited release in the UK and Europe right now. So it was very exciting to get to use this yarn for our class. But you can see gorgeous, gorgeous self-striping stuff. It is, let me look at the label here. Brought my glasses over. I've learned my lesson. Got to bring the glasses when it's time to look at labels these days. It's 70% cotton and 30% virgin wool. Look at that. Really, really gorgeous stuff. Now, this stuff is so exclusive that he wasn't able to send me a skein of it to prep for our trip. So what he was able to send me was the same yarn, which is just Katya Illusion Merino Fine, or excuse me, not an Illusion Merino, it's Cotton Merino Fine. Same yarn in solids. So I was able to approximate what we would have with our one skein scarf. So mine is more of a color blocked look, but this is my Scotland scarf that I designed for it. And at first glance, it might look pretty simple, but if you look closely, we have a really, really stable mesh here that I've designed, and it uses linked treble crochets to create this really gorgeous open work design. I found it really exciting. I was actually at the Crochet Guild of America Chain Link conference, or retreat, I should say, this summer when I was coming up with the stitch patterns for these. So I was lucky enough to have a table of fellow diners. I brought them my little swatches down to, I think it was either lunch or dinner one day, and said, okay, guys, which one of these stitch patterns is the most pleasing and which do you like best? And I think we all decided on this one. So I've got a couple more that I'll do some other fun stuff with, but we came up with this really fun pattern, and I think it added a little bit of a challenge to our crocheters, which was lovely. You don't want to make it too easy, right? But it's nice and memorizable too. Once you've got it down, it's a great road trip project rather, which when you're riding a bus around a country is always a good idea, right? So this pattern will be out later this week. Thank you to all the workshop attendees who helped me find the couple little tweaks in the wording that I want to make, Nothing like having other people read through the pattern a few times to help you figure out like, oh, I could have worded that better. So I appreciate your help on that. So that will be out later this week. Now, I, of course, had to go shopping, and I'm not going to show you all the stuff I bought in Scotland because some of it's for my family for Christmas gifts, but I will show you a couple of pieces of art that I got. And this is a beautiful little piece of a fox that I purchased from a street artist right outside Edinburgh Castle. She was sitting there with her work, and I have sort of a fox theme in my dining room, so I had to grab that one. On a more crafty note, I found this one in a little shop in Edinburgh. And there are so many streets there, and there are so many connections to like Harry Potter and different movies and things. But this one, you can see it's still in its wrapper here, has this really lovely sewn and thread effect. And I just thought it was so pretty and has sort of that crafty touch. So I had to pick that one up as well. So those are my pieces of art. But now, drum roll, but of course you guys know I'm saving the best for last, the yarn. Of course, I had to go yarn shopping. As I said, we visited a few different yarn shops. We were very lucky to visit a couple different places in Edinburgh and another one on the way to Glasgow. I don't remember I think this was the first one we went to at the first shop we went to. This was yarn called Nervous Fiber. Nervous Fiber is the brand, and the colorway is Salt. This is a fingering weight yarn that was hand dyed in Glasgow. Although I think the shop was in Edinburgh, so it's a small country. There we go. And isn't that pretty? I just thought these colors were so lovely. They just really struck me as really, really pretty colors. And of course, the lovely thing about yarns like this is everyone is going to be unique as well. So as a designer, when I think about yarns that I want to buy, I want to be able to design something that other people can make as well. I don't expect everyone to fly to Scotland to go to a local yarn shop and pick up this yarn. Probably not going to be doable. But I know that it's a fingering weight yarn, that it is made of wool, and therefore you can find a fingering weight wool yarn if you want to make one of your own. And again, every skein is going to be different anyway, and that's the joy of hand dyed. So I picked up one of these, really lovely. Then at the second shop we went to, I picked up this one. This one, unfortunately, I don't remember the name off the top of my head of the first shop. The second shop I believe we went to was Ginger Twist Studio, also in Edinburgh. And look at that. This one is just so moody. Another sort of fingering weight, hand-dyed one. Let's see if we can get the colors to show up here on camera. There we go. You can kind of see some of the blues and purples in there. Very moody. This one just struck me as sort of like a storm. And we had quite a few rainstorms while we were in Edinburgh, so this one stood out to me while we were in that shop. Now, the last shop was the one we stopped at on the way into Glasgow for the day, For the Love of Yarn. And that might have been my favorite one because we got to meet the lady who started the shop and hear her story, which was remarkably similar to mine. Actually, it was really touching. Those who know me and Moogly know that one of the big reasons I started this business was because I have a child, now a young man, but I had a baby at the time with complex medical needs. And I wanted to make sure that I could always be home. And this lady's story was remarkably similar. Same reason. She decided, I need to be home with my kid. I need to start something. So she started dyeing yarn. And several studios later, she's got an assistant. There's this whole shop, gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. So her story really touched me. And of course, her yarn was gorgeous. So I ended up picking up 3 skeins in her store. So this was the first one. Again, the colors just grabbed me in this one. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? She's such an artist, I swear. I'm so impressed with those who do such a beautiful hand job with hand dyeing. And both she and her assistant do lovely work. Her assistant, Jen, I think mostly she said sticks to the solids because she likes to really focus on the artistry of the multicolors. But this one really stood out to me. And then the last one, I wish you guys could feel this one through the screen. I purchased 2 of these. Reason being, I want to design something in one of these. And when I do, when I come up with a pattern, I want to have one to give away to one lucky winner. So I haven't scheduled this giveaway yet, but I will. I will be doing a giveaway for this yarn because I have 2 of them. And of course, again, they're hand dyed, so they're slightly different. But this to me was the color of the greenery in Scotland, the pinks and purples, the heather, the berries. The leaves were starting to change while we were there. Absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. And like I say, I desperately wish you could feel this. Every other yarn I think I've shown you has been, like this is a merino sock. Everything else has been wool. These guys, let me make sure I get it right here. 50% baby camel, 50% silk. Hand wash only, go figure, of course. It's called Ben An, which I think is named after one of the mountains or hills areas in Scotland. Again, I'm not really sure on that. But this is just about the softest yarn I have ever touched in my life. 50% baby camel, 50% silk. This may ruin me for other yarn. Honestly, it's just such gorgeous stuff. As soon as I touched it, I was like, okay, decision made. Doesn't matter how much it was. It was 30 pounds, 30 British pounds. But I had to have it. And it was so beautiful. There were exactly 2 skeins of it left. So I purchased them both. And I will very, very kindly, because let me tell you, parts of me want to hold on to it. I will very kindly be setting up a giveaway for one of these very soon, hopefully. But again, these last 3 ones, if you're ever in Glasgow, if you're in Glasgow now and you haven't stopped by, For the Love of Yarn, Absolutely wonderful place, lovely people. Loved hearing their story and all about them. Even got their little card. There's their hours, so you can stop by. Not on Tuesday. So that's all right. They were closed yesterday. Everybody should get a day off. But yeah, it was wonderful. The yarns were wonderful. I want to thank Katya for sponsoring our workshop like that with the supplies. They also provided the knit pattern because we had a mix of knitters and crocheters on this trip. So I didn't have time to completely design a knit pattern, and I'll be honest, knit lace for me is probably not what you want. So we found a beautiful pattern from Katya that I actually modeled this one after a little bit. Of course, it's a different scale because it's crochet, but we kind of got a lace pattern for both. So I think everybody enjoyed the patterns. Cheryl, oh, it does. It reminds me of an apple. It does. It reminds me a little bit of an apple too, but it's just, ooh, it is so, so soft. I cannot wait for somebody else to get to try it. I actually carried it around the store, making all the other ladies who were on the trip feel it because it was such impressive yarn. Really, really gorgeous stuff. So thank you to the Love of Yarn and Ginger Twist and Edinburgh and Craft Tours and Katya. And Betsy, our tour guide, she was amazing. And Sue, our Scottish tour guide, was amazing. It really was quite the adventure. If you're somebody who, wants to start traveling and maybe, traveling alone can be scary, right? The great thing about these tours is you can get in with a bunch of people. Starting off, I think we had one pair of friends and a mother and daughter. But other than that, everybody else was there on their own. And by the end of the trip, we were all friends. We were all buddies. Nobody was left behind. It's just such a good time, and I can't speak highly of it enough. So definitely try it out if that's something you're interested in. Whew. So I think that is just about everything for today that's new and different. Couple reminders. I've got 2 more events coming up here that you can sign up for, and I'll have more later in the year. But for now, the Pick Your Projects Crochet and Paper Art Retreat, which is in person at the end of October, at Big Raven Farm in Minnesota, and I've gotten a jury summons for the very next day, but that's beside the point. The Pick Your Projects Crochet and Paper Art Retreat has 4 spots left, just 4 spots. So if you're interested in that, do go ahead and click the link on today's post and find out more about it. We'll find out if I'm in jury duty the very next day. We'll find out what happens with that. And then coming up October 29th, so just a few days after I get back, again, unless I've been sequestered into jury duty, we will have an online class with the Crochet Guild of America, Twice as Nice Crocheting 2 Rounds at Once using linked stitches. And that one only has 2 spots left. So it's October 23rd through the 26th if you want to see me in person in Minnesota. And if you want to see me online learning about linked stitches, that one is October 29th. Like I say, I just got a jury summons yesterday for October 27th. So hopefully they will let me off of it, or it will be a very quick case. We'll see. I did jury duty once before, and it was actually a lot of fun, but this one happens to fall on a busy week. So fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed, crochet beats over jury duty. Anyway, I think that's it for today. So thank you so much for joining me. This was a little bit of a longer one, but we had a lot of cool stuff to talk about. I'm excited. Got lots of more giveaways and things lined up for you guys. Diving right back into it now that I'm back, and super excited to share stuff with you coming up. So we'll be live again next time in 2 weeks, which I believe is October 8th. So I will see you then. One more thing before I go. I am planning to do another live at 10 a.m. Central Time on Friday this week on Instagram. So that's going to be Instagram exclusively. 10 a.m. Central Time this Friday. I'm going to be talking to the designer of that Katya Crochet Along blanket. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're getting that all finalized right now. So I hope I'll see you there. I don't have a link for it yet, but all my social links are on my blog. So again, I hope I'll see you there. In the meantime, have a great day, everybody. Keep on stitching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.